Hi everybody, this is Blossom. Today I do a video request that is probably long overdue. One of my viewers asked me about how to connect with the fairies in an urban environment, and I think it is very important to tackle this topic. Many people live in the city, and often it could seem like there would be no fairy activity in those areas at all. Usually when we talk about fairies, we see images of untouched nature, beautiful landscapes far away from society, and enchanted forest pictures. I am guilty of representing the fairy energy in this way as well. I do live in a very natural environment, and even my job requires to be in nature. So for me it is very natural to spend every day in the forest or in beautiful landscapes. But what about all the others who live in an urban place who don't have access to nature every day? Does that mean that there are no fairies in the city? Not at all. For some time now I wanted to write about the modern fairies, the city-dwelling fae, if you like. But I always hesitated, as a lot of information you can get about this topic states that it is impossible for the fairies to live in the cities, or even that they don't exist anymore. My own experience is very different from that statement, and even though I am not a city dweller or spend a lot of time in an urban environment, every now and then I have to be in the city as well. So let me start by saying that it is my belief that the fae are fully able to adapt themselves to new environments. They are not standing still in time, and not everything about the fairies can be looked up in old folklore books, even though it can be a great resource, but it doesn't include the whole truth about fairy. Fairies evolved with us. Some of them did disappear back to the wilderness, for sure, but I believe that many of them evolved and adjusted themselves to the city life. In most cities we find parks. There is still nature around. Often very old trees can be found in these parks. Here's one park where I often visit after finishing my errands. Some wonderful trees and their spirits can be found there. These places have definitely fairy energy. Where there is life, there is fairy. I found the oldest trees of my whole area exactly there in the city parks. There is an interesting website with a list of old trees and the exact position where you can find them all over the world. The website is www.monumentaltrees.com, and I will put the link in the description box as well. If you have a park like this nearby, try to spend some time there and definitely think about bringing the fae some offerings. This can be the well-known offerings like milk or honey. Pour it directly into the soil, as you don't want to produce more litter by leaving it in any kind of container. Another beautiful offering you can make is the offering of song. Don't worry, you don't have to be a great singer. Sing from your heart and use your voice to connect with the fae. However, it was brought to my attention that some of these parks are filled with garbage, and truly the best offering you can make is to pick it up and to help the environment from pollution. At the moment there is not so much litter around my area, but as soon as it gets warmer, and especially after the weekend, I try as often as possible to grab my litter picker and a bag, and I will pick up some garbage. Remember, this is not below you. You help the fairies by doing so, as they can't do it themselves, for they are not on our physical plane. One of the things why I avoid cities is the noise. I have very sensitive hearing, and the city noise is something I cannot handle well. If you are familiar with my videos, you know that most of them are soft-spoken, and often the background sound is muted and I do voiceovers like now. Well, one of the reasons for that is my sensitive hearing. So if you are similar in this matter, I definitely recommend to grab your headphones and your cell phone, MP3 player, or on whatever device you listen to your music. Take it with when you go into the city and shut the noise out. Listen to some meditation music or anything that ignites a spark of magic within you. I have a few bands or musicians that I really like when working with Faery, and if I remember, I will put a link in the description box as well. Otherwise, I also have just some binaural beats with nature sounds in the background. You can find that on YouTube, no problem there. It may help you to blend out the hectic scenery of the city, and you can focus on what is directly in front of you. If you find your park uninspiring for fairy work, start with the elements first. You can feel them. The earth is right below your feet. The air that brushes your skin. The fire of the sun that gives you warmth. And the water that is contained within the earth, within the roots of the trees. There may be a hesitation to work with the elements, especially the air and earth element, when you think about the pollution. All the more reason to find a tree nearby and to give him your appreciation, how it cleanses the air in the best manner it can. Focus on your own breath and the air around you. Find your own natural rhythm. Become aware of the selves who surround you at this moment. Dig your fingers into the soil. Truly feel it and smell it. Become aware of the root system that is below you and become a part of it. Think about the earth fairies, the gnomes, and how they work deep within the earth. See if you can find a stone nearby and hold it close to you to connect with the earth. For the element of fire, you can work with the sun, feeling the warmth upon your skin, or you can bring a candle. Just make sure not to leave any litter behind. Light the candle and become aware of the fire fairies, or the fire elementals, the salamanders. How do they work? Think about transformation that fire can bring. They are a part of composting. Is there any way you can make this a part of your life? They are also responsible for the electricity all over the city. What are your thoughts on that? If you want to make a special candle for the Fae, have a look at my video where I make a special incense for them. I've used the same ingredients for the candle. I will put a link below again. Maybe you can find a fountain in the park. Spend some time near it and become aware of the water sprites that are surrounding it. What does water mean in your own life? If there is no fountain or any other water source nearby, focus on the roots of the trees that gathers water. Water is life and nourishes the earth and all living things. Or spend some time outside when it rains to connect with water. The elements are around us in every environment, and by working with them you find your way to the fairy path. If you do this on a regular basis, the fairies will recognize you soon as a kindred spirit, and you open the way to trust. Trust is an important step when working with the Fae. You need to trust them and they need to trust you, and both parties will probably need some time and a bit of reassurance before this trust is fully established. But if you continue to visit them, wherever in the city, they will soon reveal themselves to you. Here's the place where I've tried this exercise. I don't like it at all, and it's probably the most uninspiring place I could find for fairy work. It took me a while to truly shut out the city noise, but at some point I managed and I started to connect to the elements. I also use the visualization. Wherever I find myself in an environment that I'm not too keen about, I imagine how translucent wings grow out of my back, and they grow bigger and bigger until I could completely surround myself with them. For whatever negativity might be around me, now I just flutter it away with my wings. I know, this may sound so stereotyped using fairy wings, but it helps me to bring in that fairy magic as well. And when I say magic here, I don't mean the fairy does Tinkerbell magic, even though I think it's very cute, but the profound magic of fairy that is so deeply anchored within the earth and even within ourselves. I will visit this play more often as well, and I will see what fairy energy may be established there. You can definitely find fairy in our modern world. One time I felt and even saw them at a concert. I was told that fairies don't like loud music like heavy metal, for example. But when I went to a concert of a metal band, there was definitely some Fae activity. I have to mention, it is not just some random metal band, but a band that writes songs, for example, about the Lord of the Rings, Nordic and Germanic mythology, and also about Celtic mythology. Maybe the Fae really like this. First, I didn't want to mention anything towards my husband because he gets enough crazy for me. However, I was curious to see if he felt anything as well. Just as I wanted to ask him, he said that he didn't want to say anything because he didn't want me to think he's crazy, but he definitely felt the fairies around him. So, you see, they can be found everywhere, and I encourage you to make your own experiences with the fairies. Not long ago, I've read an article on how electricity is the reason why the fairies disappeared. But in my opinion, that is not really the case. Let's just think for a second what electricity is, shall we? There we go. Pretty natural, isn't it? So, we find electricity in nature as well, and I associate the fire elementals and the fire fairies with electricity. I have more than one example how fairies are connected with our modern technologies. Those are a different kind of fairy, and you will not find anything about them in books. For everybody who works with the Fae in our modern age, it is now our turn to learn about the new fairies and to bring that knowledge out there. Don't get me wrong, I love to learn about their past and their history, and I think it's so important to do so if you want to work with them. But we also have to move forward and not just looking back. I will come definitely back to this topic at a later point, either here on my channel or on my blog. So, I hope this is helpful, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Much love and blessings, and bye bye.